Yes, good evening, everyone. I hope you can all hear me. So this is past 4 already, so I'm just going to go straight into the class for today. But before I start, I would like us to just try to signify that you can all hear me loud and clear. My audio just connected, but I want to make sure everyone can hear me.
We can hear you.
Okay, fine. Okay.
I can hear you.
Okay, fine. Okay, all right.
Okay, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, fine. All right, so let's go into today's class then. So today we are looking into local commodities supply and trade. Local commodities supply and trade. So what do we mean by these local commodities? I know that already, for one, most of us here, we already have 1 or 2 things to do with commodities, export, trading. So we already have an idea of the commodities that are around us. So I'm going to be starting with the categories of commodities in Nigeria that you can work with, that you can trade, that you can do business with when it comes to buying and selling, supplying factories or companies, individuals, importers or exporters in Nigeria. So the first categories, which is also the most popular in this part of the world, is the agricultural commodities. Agricultural commodities, I mean, when you hear grains like millet, like maize, soybeans, and what have you, like cocoa beans, cotton, and all that, they all come under what is called agricultural commodities. And we also have the metals. The metals, that's where we have the precious stones like gold, like silver. We have the ores like iron ore, like manganese ore, like lithium ore, like copper ore. So these are kind of metals that are prevalent in Nigeria that you can source around the country for either for export or for local supply. But in this class, we are focusing on the local supply part, which is supplying locally to maybe factories, companies that need the commodities as a feedstock for whatever they are producing, or maybe they just need it to trade, to also export it to like other countries. So another category of commodity is also livestock and meat that you can trade with. Then we have the forest products. The forest products are the wood that we have in our thick bushes, and Nigeria is also blessed with a lot of wood. We have a lot of wood around here that are needed both international markets and the local markets. And also, one of the important forest products that we also have is the charcoal. The charcoal is also a very important forest product, even though it has gone through like some process of incomplete combustion in burning and all that. And so all these these are categories of commodities I listed here. Commodities that people need in the country. It's also needed outside the country, but the market in Nigeria itself, supplying companies, supplying factories in Nigeria is a very huge market. It's a very huge market, and you can get a lot from it. So whenever I'm taking classes on export, I try to let people understand that in the categories of trade, one of the categories that you can enter in from is the local side of commodities, the local trading side of commodities, which has nothing to do with you exporting it or shipping it to another country or another part of the world. So when you look at the companies that need this commodity in Nigeria, it's a lot. So you have people who want to export. They need like maybe 1,000 tons of maize. Like currently, maize is in the season. Dry maize is one thing that people are buying right now. So like for us in our company at AGX, we've been getting a lot of orders, a lot of giving out a lot of quotations, getting a lot of purchase orders on dried maize. So this dried maize, you can get it in the country. It's a popular commodity around here. And also soybeans. Soybeans is also another commodity that is actually also in the market that people are buying a lot locally. And very soon we'll be going into cashew trade, which people also buy locally, not even you exporting it this time around, but just focusing on the local market. So from my next slide, I'll be talking about the overview of commodities in Nigeria, like around the southwestern part of the country, the southeast, northeast, west, and north central part of the country. So one of the reasons why I'm going to be explaining this is because so that it gives you like an insight into what you might have overlooked in your environment, like around you. So many times we have several products, several things that we can export or that we can trade that people need around us, but we don't usually focus on it because maybe for one reason or another, our mind is actually not in it. So, and sometimes maybe you are living in Lagos, but you came from Southeast, where there is actually a commodity that is prevalent in that area. Like I have some friends in Lagos, but in their hometown in Enugu, they have coal. They have coal, like in their compound. They have this land that has coal. They just fenced it there, closed it. So some of them does not even know maybe the usefulness of the metal or how they can go about trading it, even if they want. And you have some people that comes from Southwest where there's an abundance of maybe shea nuts, shea butter, oil palm, cocoa beans, so, but because you grew up in that environment, you've overlooked it that, oh, I see these cocoa beans every day. It's dried in my compound, so you are not looking at it like maybe it's something that is really valuable, something that you can make a whole lot of money from. So in Southwest, we have commodities like cocoa, like oil palm, like dried vegetables that you have to process yourself after getting the vegetables at the market. Then you process it, add to actually get a finished or a semi-finished product from it. Livestock, quarry, stones, etc. So these products, for instance, are not like maybe this list is not limited to what we have in Southwest. It's still more than this, but because of our time, I've tried to like limit it into the major categories of commodities that we can get in our area. So like oil palm, for instance, there are several companies that demand for oil palm when they are trying to maybe produce their own products like soap, like vegetable oil and co. So they bleach it and use it for whatever they want to use, whatever they need it for. So this oil palm is something that you can take if you are from Southeast, if you are from Southwest. There's a lot of oil palm around that you can actually focus on as a point of supply. And we also have enough stones around here in the southwestern area, like dolomites. We have different quarry stones used in construction and for some other things that people request for in different dimensions. Once you know the dimension of what you have to supply, or of what the company or the factory that wants to buy from you, whatever they are ordering. So one thing about the commodities, you trading commodities, is trying to make sure that you understand the specific commodity that the buyer or whoever is buying from you wants to get from you. So once you know that, okay, this person wants a semi-dried cocoa beans that is harvested this year, or the person wants a dried cocoa beans that is harvested last year, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. So they will give you, the person buying from you will give you all this information according to what they want to use it for. So some people need maybe grade A of a commodity for manufacturing purpose or for their production purpose. Some people need grade B just to, feed animals, maybe just to feed their livestock in their farms. Some people need maybe something that is more like a waste from, like oil palm, for instance. In the production of oil palm, you have waste products. Those waste products themselves is a lot of money when you are supplying other farms that use that waste product in their feed. So when you are looking into commodities that you want to supply in Nigeria, you can look at it from the angle of, okay, am I supplying the commodities directly? Am I supplying maybe just a byproduct of these commodities that might be needed by some companies around? Or am I going into the waste area that comes out from the production of so product that is using this commodity? So once you analyze where you want to focus on, or where you want your focus to be on, then you can now use that in developing your business, or in developing the kind of supply contract that you are sourcing for, or that you want to get from individuals or from companies out there. For instance, farmers who use who make use of greenhouses, hydroponics, and all that, they make use of this coconut, the back of coconut. They make use of the back of coconut a lot. So if you see maybe like a factory, maybe like a company who is into coconut production, that back might be what you will be taking off from them, and you just need the right company to supply that from. So it might look like a waste, but there's also someone who is in need of that product. So that's just the overview or the idea of how you have to start looking at commodities from now. But I can tell you categorically that in a month, you can make hundreds of millions of naira trading commodities if you know the right way to do it, the right point to click, or the right people to connect and to talk with. So in South, you have fish, there's lead, there's manganese, there's crude oil, there's natural gas. In Southeast, there's also oil palm. You have a lot of metals in Southeast, like coal, like lead, like limestone, like copper, and what have you. Then you also get dried vegetables from southeastern states in Nigeria also. Then looking around the north, we have northwest, north central, and northeast. From northwest, because the north is the home of grains like Kano, Kaduna, for instance. Those are the home of grains when you are looking for anything like maybe millet, sorghum, soybeans, rice, leather. You look towards the north, especially Kano. So Kano has a lot of markets where there's no grain that you want, or you have a supply contract for, and you need to fill in that you won't get around Kano. So northwest, there's rice, there's groundnut, there's cattle, leather, there's copper. So the north also have a lot of metals. In fact, there is no record metal that you can't get in the north, like lithium ore, like manganese ore, the metals that are used in making semiconductors that are used in the manufacture of our phones, of our smartphones, of our laptops. You have uranium in the north. You have so some of these metals might look like maybe okay, a lot of people don't know about it, but when you start sourcing commodities, when you start searching for commodities around the country, you start discovering some metals in the north that people are mining, or companies are mining rather, that have the mining license to actually mine those kind of commodities. So it's now dependent on you to try to, on how you get wherever you are supplying to, and be able to also connect with whoever maybe is producing that metal or is mining that metal, because most of the time the miners are not the owners of the mine, but they just get the license and they're able to finance some equipment to mine those metals, and they bring it to their warehouse where you can transact business with them. And because of the situation of the country in terms of banditry and terrorism, you might not be able to actually go into the thick bushes. Maybe you have to just go to their warehouse and sort things out with them, depending on your contract. So in North Central, we have rice, there's soybeans, there's exotic crops like strawberries from Jos, all the apples and all that. They come from Jos in North Central. So in Northeast, there's cattle, there's sugarcane, there's zinc, there's manganese. So most of when you get maybe someone sending you messages or trying to ask you about metals in Nigeria, so don't just tell them that, oh, this is not in Nigeria, or they don't get this in Nigeria. They actually do. And a lot of our metals that are being mined to China, to Asian countries, basically majorly the Asian guys buy most of our metals, because that's the manufacturing center of the world, where most of all these hardwares, or where most of our hardware are produced. So in case you meet any one of them in Nigeria who needs this metal, you can know how to relate with them. So the business of commodities trading, I'll take my time to explain this so we can grasp it. So okay, so know your commodity. Which commodity do you want to focus on? So like in the previous slide, you can see that there are several commodities. We have different commodities. I've taken you to the category. I mentioned some when we were trying to look at the regions in Nigeria, in the country. So you might be someone that maybe, okay, you can't focus on all the commodities, or maybe you just want to look at, okay, what commodities actually come from my hometown, where I live or where I come from. Okay, I'm living in Enugu right now. That's where I work. That's where my family is. But what commodity can I see around me that I can trade, that I can supply, that I can get in abundance, and I can easily access? So it won't be like, maybe, okay, I have this contract, but I don't even know where the commodity is coming from, or the market where I'm going to buy the commodity from. So it's actually good that sometimes you select maybe one or two commodity that you want to focus on to get a supply contract. And then you can also look at it from the angle of you following the season. So maybe right now, as we're in May season, you work with the May season. When soybean season, you work with the soybean season. By the time we get to December ending, early January, soybean won't be in the trade season anymore, right? As at that time, people will be looking into cashew nuts trade. So you might want to go with the season. You might just want to focus on what you know best, on the like oil, palm oil, for instance. We see it around us. We use it every day. That might be what you want to look into. So after you understand and you come to a conclusion on what you want to do concerning the commodity area, or what you want to focus on, then you can now work on getting a supply contract for yourself. Like, oh, okay, this is what I want to supply, but who am I supplying? Because when you don't have a buyer, when you don't have someone buying from you, there cannot be transaction, there cannot be trade. So who are you supplying? Who is buying from you? Before I started this class, someone was asking me for 500 to 1,000 tons of maize or dried maize in Kano. I rejected the offer based on some discretion on my own part. So if I want to do that contract, if I want to go ahead with it, that's a transaction for me. I'll just have to pick my phone, pass the message to our commodities manager, and they start. He starts work on it immediately. So, but in your own case now, maybe you might not have someone sending you a direct contract to your phone, or maybe someone asking you if you are interested to take up this supply or that contract. So you might, because you are just starting in the field, you might be the one to actually search for the contracts yourself, which is going to companies, factories, and trying to, to let their purchase, trying to meet their purchase manager or purchase officer or procurement officer, and having a meeting with them and letting them know that you can supply this commodity that they need, and they'll give you their form to fill their contracts and all that. I have a partner, a woman who gets a contract with Nestle. So Nestle is one of those top niche companies that when you have a supply contract with them, it goes a long way for you because they buy at good price and they don't owe you money. So you have different, like even down to companies like Dangote and Co, they all use commodities as raw material. And when they see a stable supplier, or when they get a supplier they can trust, they can give that person a contract to supply them so commodities. So, but let's say that you are still looking at not the very big or high-end companies to supply. You can start with the vegetable oil company in your area, the company making use of coconut around you, or a cake company that you can be, or biscuit company that you can be supplying sesame seed, because they make use of sesame seed a lot, or companies that you can supply groundnut to. Maybe they make peanuts, or plantain chips company that makes use of plantain and banana, and they need those kind of, crop harvest from you, and you can supply them regularly. So you can have a contract with them and they can raise a purchase order on your behalf. So you get a supply contract because that's where the transaction starts from. Then you know the right market or commodities merchants. So know the right market in the sense that since you are focusing or you are working currently with XYZ commodity, like let me say soybeans, for instance, where is the right market for soybeans? Where is that the right place for you to buy it, that you know that it's going to be in abundance and it's going to be cheaper than other markets or around you? So maybe for soybean, for instance, if you are buying soybean from Kaduna, it's cheaper in Kaduna, it's cheaper in Abuja, it's cheaper in Kano. But if you are buying soybean from, let's say, Lagos, from Oyo State, from Niger, or even Kwara State, it should be more expensive than what you get in Kaduna, because Kaduna is actually like the home of soybeans. So you have to know the right market. If you are buying palm oil, if you are buying it directly from a place like Ondo State, or Kitipupa in Ondo State, it's cheaper than if you are buying it in Ibadan, or you are buying it in Osun, or you are buying it in, like in Lagos State. So, and you should also know the right merchant to work with. So, should in case you can't go direct to the markets yourself, and you need to call a merchant to talk to or to work with you to help you in the procurement and sending it down here. Like for instance, it's not every time my commodities manager have to travel to Kaduna or to Kano. He understands Hausa very well. He just communicates with people over there, and they do his bidding. So that might be the case for you, having the right commodities merchant. So, but sometimes at the start, you might have to go to these markets and form a relationship or something that makes the merchant over there know you, trust you, and they are ready to do business with you. Then you should be able to finance your contract. You should be able to finance your contract, because when you get your LPO might state 1,000 tons of a commodity that is to be sold at maybe 200, 300, 500,000 naira per ton. And your local purchase order that is given to you is having like 50 million naira on it, is having 100 million naira on it, is having 500 million naira on it. So you have to be able to finance your contract. So either you finance it yourself or you finance it externally, but you need to get that done. Okay, I'm still going to talk about the financing contract part. So I'll explain better when we get there. So now you have to be able to execute your contract like the way it's stated in the purchase order that is given to you. So one of the crucial thing with commodities trade is, some people might give you a contract, a specification of the commodities that you are supposed to supply. Maybe the hibiscus flower I want you to supply me, I don't want it to be deep red. I want it to be light red. Or maybe I don't want it crumbled. I want the flowers to be white. So there are different specifications I might tell you that I need. Even when it comes to palm oil, the palm oil that that you make use of every day has its own specification in terms of chemical content, in terms of the color, how red it is, cholesterol content, and all that. So someone can tell you that, okay, I don't mind if it has cholesterol, and some might can tell you, okay, I want something that is non-cholesterol. The cholesterol level has to be 0. And impurities in a commodity also have its own level that is acceptable and not acceptable by the person that is buying from you. So you have to be able to execute the contract based on the specification that is on the contract that is presented to you. And finally, you have to get paid, So basically, the point of discussion, the whole point of this class is that you have to get paid. So the reason why I added get paid, don't be surprised, is that a lot of people do this kind of business, but at the end of the day, they don't get paid because maybe for one reason or another, they made a mistake, or maybe they didn't, they actually did not understand the methods or how to go about it. So when you have all these contracts and all that, there are some things that you must also make sure that you get that helps you to ensuring that after your supply and all that, you get paid. And even if it results to anything that you have to maybe attend to, the company won't still have any choice than to pay you, even if it's taking time. At the end of the day, you still get your money for you to run other supply, other trade. And one thing with the commodities trade is because a lot of buyers might not want to pay you in advance, since it is your first time of doing business with them. You need every cash to run, so when you make a first supply, you might still even have to still supply the company again. So you are working on the next supply and at the same time waiting for your cash to be paid, for your credit alert to come in. And once it comes in, you turn it over again into supplying the company the commodity, till you are done with them and you move on to another contract. But if you're a very good commodity supplier, your customer will always come back to you. That's one secret. Your customer will always, still buy from you, even if it's export. Once your buyer is very interested and is satisfied with what you are doing or with what you've done, he or she is still going to try to buy from you again. So know your commodity. So whatever the commodity that you are working with, you have to understand everything about the commodity. Like in this slide, I used maize as an example because we're actually trading maize right now. We're in the season. So if you look at maize, the prevalent market for maize, it's in the south and the north. South, you have Oyo State, you have Ogun State, Osun State, Benue, the north, Kaduna, Niger, Kano. So I use this so that you can understand, okay, if you are focusing on maybe oil palm, you are focusing on maybe shea nuts or shea butter, whatever the commodity is. So you have to have this idea, the knowledge of where it's originating from or where you have it more in abundance. That, okay, even when we are in the scarce season of that commodity, if you have a supply to still run around that time, you can still go to the place of origin or where that commodity originated from and still get it for supply. So there are some long-term contracts you can actually get that can run 10 months, that can run a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, depending on your capacity and your relationship with the company. So they expect that in season and out of season, you are supplying them the commodity. So in that case, you need to understand that commodity, the pricing, everything, what influences it, whatever that can come out, that can come up to like influence maybe the how abundant the commodity is in the market or the price. So you have to like understand everything about the commodity, like price of maize that I wrote here, 170,000 per ton in the north, 180,000 per ton in the south. Like 2 weeks ago, it wasn't up to this. 2 weeks ago, we're still selling here for 140 plus 150. About last week, the price jumped to like 168 in Kaduna and Kano, and we have to like come up to maybe 170, 175 last week here in Lagos. Now the price, so maize price is actually going up little by little. So, but when it started, we started out at 140 plus. We started out at 140 plus. So you have to, so it's not like, okay, you are trading so commodity, but then when you are asked the price for that commodity, you actually don't know what's going on. So you need to be sure of the price that commodity is going at the market. And one way to do that is either you go to the market yourself, ask questions, make inquiries, or you call someone in the north, like your merchants, and ask, for update, for price update. Sometimes there are some commodities, there are some special commodities that when you ask for the price, they will have to wait maybe 2 days, 3 days to release a new price. So there are commodities like that you have to wait maybe like till Monday. There are some markets in Kano, they'll have to decide, okay, how much are we selling millet now? So you have to wait like maybe a new week, then they release a new price. So at that time, nobody will be selling at their commodity because they are looking for towards a new price, which will be higher than maybe what they were selling at previously. So all these things, you have to be conversant with it and know what is going on, because okay, since this is not an export class, but sometimes your buyer can even understand the pricing more than you if you are not careful. And we've experienced several times when the white guy will be telling you the market in your locality and the price that they are selling it there. So you have to be conversant and really understand what is going on in that environment where your commodity is coming from. So when it comes to pricing, how to give the company or the person buying the commodity from you, you have to know the price that the commodity is coming with from the market where you are buying it. That is the price of the commodity from maybe Niger, maybe Oyo, or from maybe Enugu. You have to add up the transport, the logistics that will get it there to your to the company you are supplying or to the factories that you are supplying. And you have to add other expenses to it, like apart from the money you are paying logistics now, when you are loading the commodity into the truck, you have to pay the loaders, you have to pay the local government. You know, there will be some people that will come around that you have to pay them for before you load or after loading, before the driver can move. So for some logistics company, they will take care of all that and you don't have to worry yourself about it, but you have to factor it in because sometimes the driver of the truck might tell you that you'll be the one to make the settlement, in which you have to do that. So there could be touts along the way, like, you know, so there could be, you might have to give some people, maybe at the company where you get your purchase order from, the company that you are supplying, you might have to give them something and all that. So like these maize that I used in the previous slide as an example. So at the end of the day, the price there you are looking at 170, 180. So at the end of the day, the price you might be giving the company might be 200,000 naira for a ton. 200,000 naira for a ton. So it's now dependent on the negotiation that you have with the company that is buying from you. So there will be like a time to negotiate the prices. If they are comfortable with it or not, then you must also understand, okay, how do they intend to pay for the order that they are requesting from you? Are they paying in advance? Are they giving you part payments? Is it when you deliver the commodity they are going to pay you? So you need to understand all this, and everything has to be stated in your contract. So the next slide is the business of commodities trading 2, in which I state that, okay, you have to familiarize yourself with the following. One, letter of intent. Letter of intent, which we call LOI. So when someone is, or a company is asking you to supply them any commodity, any quantity, you need to create like a communication channel in which they are going to be able to introduce their company, talk about the commodities they want, the quantity, the specification, how they intend to pay, where you are going to deliver the commodities to, maybe to their factory or to their warehouse or any market. So they are going to explain all this in the letter of intent that they are going to send you. So when they send you the letter of intent, then you can now reply with a quotation of the commodity, like how much you want to sell the commodity, just like the previous slides where I said the total is now 200,000 naira per ton. So you might now be the one to now respond. You now respond with your quote. Okay, this is how much you can sell the commodity to be delivered to Lagos, or to be delivered to Oyo State, to be delivered to Benin, those states. So you let them know, then you can go on with your discussion on the contract. Then there's LPO. LPO stands for local purchase order. Now the LPO is what most companies, factories that are going to buy commodities from you, the LPO is what they are going to use. Excuse me for this class. It's less than a minute, so Zoom can actually log us out. So just use the same link to log back in with the same password. I'm just going to restart the class once it does. So a lot of companies and factories make use of LPOs. A lot of them, because you are a first-time supplier, might not actually want to pay you in advance, like maybe 30% advance, 40% advance for you to supply, to bring the commodity. So they might just ask you that they will be giving you a local purchase order. Now, the local purchase order is not a negotiable instrument. That's one very key important